Hi, this is Gayle from BERNINA of Naperville, and welcome to a new Fat Quarter Club. And this month we're doing something super cute. So if you've ever wanted to work with vinyl, if you've ever wanted to put in a zipper, and you just want to work with some cute fabrics, or maybe even use some little swatches that you've stitched together in a class, or if you have an extra embroidery design laying around or something like that, this is the perfect class for you. Because we're going to be making about, let's just say approximately a 10-inch by 12-inch project pouch with vinyl and a zipper. We're also going to be using some of my favorite product, which is the pre-drawn stamped binding fabric from Art Gallery. Yeah, it's a 2.5-inch strips, and they have like little scissors, and that's where you cut them apart, then you butt them up together, stitch them down, match up the print, and then you have like this binding that you can use so many different ways. So let's go have a look at the computer to the interactive handout that I'm going to provide in the description of the video and on our website along with our Fat Quarter Club. But we're going to look through all the stuff we need, what we're going to cut, and then we're going to stitch it together. This is a quick one. So the first thing that you're going to get when you download our interactive handout is this link to our YouTube video, which of course you're watching that right now. And then here are the fabrics for this month. So there are 4 Art Gallery fabrics, the 2 Jaguar prints, and then the Bedrock and Amorous. And then we threw in a Ghastly in gold with the leaves, and then a little cute pink print from Dear Stella. You are going to hear me talk about, or I already talked about, the Art Gallery binding fabric. And these are fabrics that we sell by the yard. And with 1 yard, it is divided into 2.5-inch strips. So you just cut on the little scissors and you have your binding. The only thing that's a little bit tricky is matching up the pattern to sew them together. Because, normally when we do a binding, we line them up so that we sew on that diagonal, but I find that that's harder to match my print. So with these, I just butt them up and sew a straight seam. Now, Art Gallery has provided videos that you can watch. There's a short here that you can click on, and then there's a longer video where they actually bind a whole project. And then, of course, you can click this link to visit our BERNINA of Naperville website to peruse and shop all of the different designs we have with these creative fabrics. Then we have other supplies. So a BERNINA sewing machine and I'm using one with 9mm stitch capability, the BERNINA 770 Quilters Edition CAFE edition. And I'm using the 97D patchwork foot, but you might also want to try a Teflon foot like number 52D. And, sometimes I do feel like a little bit of the metal touching this vinyl can cause it to not feed very well. And we actually made a video on the Teflon foot number 52D that I've linked in this presentation that you can watch. We made it a while back, so excuse the fact that we're making a mask bag, but I think you'll get the idea of how easy these feet are to use. You're also going to need a number 4D foot, and this is simply because we're doing a zipper. Now, I'm a big fan of the Make a Zipper or the Add a Zipper or the Sally Tomato zippers by the yard, whatever you want to call them. You get like 3 yards of zipper tape and 9 zipper heads. But if you want one of our cute little pink zippers with the rainbow tape and the rainbow head, we have 13-inch zippers that we have cut specifically for this project. And you can check those out at this link. And then clear vinyl. And there are 2 types of vinyl that I like to use. One would be the wide roll that we carry. Now, this one is a little bit thinner, but it comes in a wider piece. So if you had a bigger project, you could use this one. But this OESD clear vinyl that you're going to see us use today is a little bit thicker. It's wrinkle resistant, and it can take a little bit of heat. Now, I wouldn't go putting my iron directly on it, but if you get an iron near it, it will not cower in fear. Stabilizers, 1/2 yard of fusible backing, and you can either use the SF101, which is the Pellon product called Shape Flex, or the fusible woven, which comes in a tube from OESD. you're just going to need two 12.5 by 10-inch pieces of that and a heavy cutaway stabilizer. I just use my stabilizer for embroidery, and that too is from OESD, and you're going to need 12.5 by 10-inch pieces of that. Cutting is easy. Your 6 fat quarters are going to give you plenty to make several bags as long as you have enough vinyl. And I want you to experiment with different sizes. So I'm making a 12.5 by 10-inch bag, but there's also enough vinyl left from one roll of the OESD stuff that you could make like a little 9-inch or by 8-inch or 8-inch by 8-inch bag for smaller items and things like that. Then from your main fabric and the lining, each one of those is going to be 12.5 inches by 10 inches. And then a little accent fabric, I chose the pink from the group of fat quarters, and you're going to need 12.5 by 2.5 inch strips of those. And then the vinyl gets cut. It's 8 inches wide if you buy it from OESD, or if you're using the wide vinyl, you're going to cut it 8-inch by 12.5 inches. And then of course, you're going to do your binding fabric, but you only need 2 strips width of the fabric. And then simply fuse the fusible backing onto each side of those main fabrics and the lining, and then 505 spray onto the back of those your cutaway stabilizer. And then starting off with the assembly, place those pieces together, wrong sides together, and stitch a 1/4 inch seam around the edges using the 97D foot. And when I did this, I don't know if I was just like in La La Land or whatever, but my rectangles weren't perfectly rectangles. So I stitched around, and then I trimmed using my rotary cutter and ruler about 1/8 of an inch off, so that number one, that thread is hidden in the seam allowance, and number two, it squared everything up for me. And I do a lot of trimming as I go along with this project. When you prep the vinyl, the first thing you're going to do is prep your 1.5 inch by 12.5 inch strips. So the first strip, you're going to fold in half longwise and press and put it aside. The second strip, you're going to fold in half longwise, press, then press the raw edges into the fold and give it a good press. And this piece, strip 2, is the one you're going to insert the vinyl into so that you can top stitch that folded edges down. And you're going to do that with either your 97D foot or the 52D non-stick foot. Going on to the zipper, you're going to take your foot off the machine and replace it with the number 4D foot. And the 4D foot is one of these feet where you cannot stitch in the middle. So you have to move your needle position over. And I moved mine to -3, which is 3 clicks to the left. Then with your piece that has the vinyl in it, or strip 2, you're going to align that folded edge along the right side of the zipper and place the left side of the zipper foot against the right side of the coils and stitch. You don't have to back tack. You're just going to do a nice little pretty stitch along that zipper. Then you're going to spin your work around 180 degrees and place the left side of the zipper foot against the right side of the coils, and you're going to stitch. And that will give you your zippered piece. And don't unzip it all the way, but don't zip it totally closed. Put that zipper head kind of in the middle so you can sew easily. And then let's place that zippered vinyl piece right side up on top of our main fabric pieces. And this is another one of those things, when you place it on top, you're going to notice that your vinyl piece is larger. So don't be alarmed. So what I would like you to do is lay everything down, clip with fabric clips, or pin in the seam allowances, however you feel comfortable doing that, and then use your fabric edge on that 1/4 inch foot or your 52D foot as a guide, so that when we finish basting around this edge, we can trim our vinyl to the size of our main fabric. And now with binding, once you have joined your binding strips together, you're going to sew the binding to the back of the bag. And don't forget, I've folded my bindings in half, and I've chosen the binding that I want to see the most of, because that's what's so cool about these art gallery bindings is that you have so many choices for what one strip of binding is going to look like. So I chose to use the little light blue X's and the pink scallop with this one, and I sewed it on accordingly. So I sewed my piece with the binding to the back of the bag using a 1/4 inch foot and a 1/4 inch seam. And I started at the back top right corner. Then as we go around the bag, I mitered 3 corners. And then before I got back to where I started, I'm rolling that binding around to encapsulate the edge, pinning it into place, and then finishing the binding backing. And I want to leave at least a 5-inch tail of binding because I want to put a little hanging loop on this bag. So I did gently press this, and I didn't use a pressing cloth, but I would recommend, depending on your iron and everything, you're definitely going to want to. Even though I'm using the OESD vinyl that can take a little bit of heat, I would recommend. But I just pressed really close to the edges to get a crease. And I also used the new 505 glue stick to kind of hold things into place so I wouldn't need to pin. Then I stitched the binding around from the front, and there's a little notch on my 97D foot that I just used to guide the folded edge on. And so I stitched all the way around with this, starting with my little tube that I created. And then I top stitched. And then when I got to the edge where my binding is starting, I tucked the raw edge under my binding to create that loop, and then completed going around the bag. And that's it. That's our completed bag. It was so fun. It was easy to make. And I know that you want to make a ton of these. All right, I told you it was quick, right? And I bet you enjoy it. I bet you even find use for that weird little piece of vinyl that is smaller, right? Like maybe Bonaparte's little hippo treat bag or something. I mean, now that you know how to make this, you probably have already figured out that you can make it in any size that you want, right? Well, if you enjoyed this video and you want to do more videos with us, don't forget to check out our Bernina of Naperville YouTube channel. It's easy. It's youtube.com/Bernina of Naperville. And there you can like, comment, and subscribe. And you can also pop on over to BerninaofNaperville.com, where you can sign up for our Fat Quarter Club. It's no commitment, ladies and gentlemen. All you have to do is just say, hey, I like the Fat Quarter of the Month Club this month. We'll send it to you. And then when June comes around, we're going to send you an invoice. But if you don't pay it, you don't get the project. And that's fine, because maybe you won't like what we're doing in June. Oh, that's highly unlikely. All right. Cheers, everybody.